So today on our show, we have a very dear guest. She is none other than Teena Agnel. She is a commercial food photographer and stylist that has been creating sensational photography for a lot of leading brands here in Dubai. Let's get into it. Hi, Teena.
Hi, Shubika.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here today on the sets of Business Conversations with Shubika. Thank you so much for your time.
Likewise, Shubika. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. So, Teena, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
It's quite surprising because, people think I have been into photography right from the beginning.
Right.
But I have a master's in computer application.
Right.
And I was working with a multinational company in India.
Right.
Then I moved to the States after getting married.
Right.
And that's where I had issues with my work permit visa, or I would say because of the visa situation, I was on a dependent visa.
Okay.
Since I was not allowed to work, so I thought, all right, let me invest my time in something like a website. So by the time I have a work permit, I can show the potential employees that I was still in touch with my related field, that was computers.
Right.
So that's how the whole concept started.
Great. So that's where you got your inspiration from to start food photography?
I always loved cooking, and food was something that was always close to my heart. But the problem was, as a kid, I was never allowed in the kitchen because my mom thought I should be spending time studying and not in the kitchen. But when I was in the States, and that was the first time in my life that I got so much time to experiment and a kitchen to myself. So that's how the cooking journey began.
Right.
So I started experimenting with food, cooking, baking, and that was where my journey started. And then talking about which it happened was, like I said, I started my website or a blog. The reason being different, but slowly I realized that even if my recipes are good, even if the food is great, if you want people to visit my website, I have to have good images.
Correct.
And that was my first step towards the photography journey.
Wow. So that sparked your inspiration to start food photography?
Yes, because I started researching in different books and different courses.
Right.
And slowly and gradually my photography skills improved.
Wow.
Yeah.
And today you're an award-winning food photographer.
Yes, I did. I was fortunate enough to get an award. I was recently awarded Food Photographer of the Year by Prestige Awards.
Wow.
And thank you. And I also received another by MEA Markets Business Award saying Food Photographer of the Year 2022 again.
Wow.
So yeah.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about food photography?
Food photography, I would say, is important for any food related brand because just having good food is not enough. If you want to attract customers in a busy world where there are so many restaurants, the first point would be the food photography.
Right.
Then comes the taste of the food, of course, or the quality of the product, because you have to retain those customers. Right. And then the third is marketing. Right. So I think the essential role for any food related brand is photography.
Correct. Because if the photography is done right, then people would want to go there and try the food.
Absolutely, because food, it's emotion. Like I said, the reason I started the food photography for my blog was also people won't come to you unless your images are good.
Right.
So, I mean, imagine a place like Marina or some place where there are so many restaurants. You need to have a good poster outside your restaurant for, to pull people inside or to make that for people wanting to come in when they see your pictures. Right. So that, I think, is a starting point, and every restaurant or food related brand should invest in.
I agree with you completely. So, Teena, in a place like Dubai where there is immense opportunity for a lot of food photographers and there's so many that are in the same field as you, how do you distinguish yourself from the rest?
Food photography in Dubai or many parts of the world, it's done by essentially two people, photographer and a stylist, where of course photographer is the one who takes care of the lighting and the actual taking of the pictures and editing, while food stylist is responsible for setting up the scene and styling the food.
Right.
Where I stand out is I am also a food photographer and a stylist.
Right.
So the best thing is, the clients will get, I would say, it's good in terms of the budget because I'm able to provide them a better pricing because I am the only person involved there. The second best thing is I specialize only in food photography.
Right.
Because if you look at a lot of photographers, they do everything.
Right.
And food is such a specialized field that there's a lot of things to study in it, and you need time. If you're doing every aspect, then it's like like I tell people, if you have problem with your bones, you wouldn't go to a GP. You would go to a bone specialist, right? Or an ortho, I would say. So the same way, if you want a food photography for your restaurant, you will go with a food photographer. And I specialize in that, unlike a lot of photographers who do a lot of different things.
So Teena, you've won these amazing awards and been recognized in your field. How has that molded your experience?
I would say when you're starting out in the journey, you're a beginner and you're not earning much, So when you have put in so many hours, so many years, and when you're finally recognized for all that hard work, it really encourages you, it keeps you going.
Right.
So I think that's the best thing that comes out of these awards.
Right.
And also the other thing was, I never applied for them, because normally you apply for them.
Correct.
I received an email saying I have been nominated. I filled up the form.
Right.
And then, after a few weeks, I received an email saying I won this.
Wow.
So yes, it was a wonderful experience and an encouraging one.
Right. Which has been one of the awards that has been most dear to you?
I would say the Prestige Awards.
Okay.
Because being an international award.
Right.
And what they do is they have a team who picks people in different categories from different regions.
Okay.
And they have a team of people, judges, who based on different criteria selects you.
Right.
And it's international, it's global. So they have it for different regions.
Okay.
So I think to be a part of that is an honor.
Wonderful. So proud of you, Teena.
Thank you, Shubika.
So for all our viewers watching and budding photographers, can you share with us some tips on food photography?
Food photography, I would say there's no single tip. It's a mix of 4 different components.
Okay.
To begin with, I would say understanding the manual mode of a camera is the first thing you should be doing.
Okay.
Because that gives you more creative control. And a lot of people take it on an auto mode also.
Right.
So that having the right lens, because food photography has a different lens.
Right.
So having that would be important. Second thing would be styling. Because even if you have a good camera and if you do not know how to set up your scene, the images are not going to look good.
Correct.
The third thing would be lighting. To understand the mood and to figure out a mood for every different kind of setting is important. For example, if you're shooting for an open cafe, there's going to be a light and airy mood.
Right.
If you're shooting for a butchery, it's going to be a darker mood.
Right.
So understanding that and being able to manipulate the light is one of the other important aspects.
Okay.
And the last is editing. Because if you have all these components right, and if you haven't figured out the editing, then still you haven't nailed it. Correct. So I think it's a balance of all these 4 aspects that will make you a good photographer.
Wonderful. That was so beautifully put.
Thank you, Shubika.
So we've talked about the positives of being in this field and how it will impact any restaurant, any business that requires your photography. But can you tell us some of the struggles you may have faced along your journey?
Sure. Like I said, there's a beginning in everything you do.
Right.
And the initial steps are not easy because you're starting out, you don't know what to do,
Right.
Starting from your license or where to find clients, it's difficult.
Correct.
And then the thing is, when you're starting up, you have your responsibilities. We all have our challenges. Men have their own challenges. We have our own challenges because we have to manage a family and kids. And finding that balance was so important. I still remember in the initial stages, I had this client I was working for and the deadline was quite tight. Okay. And I was also creating recipes and taking pictures for them.
Okay.
So my younger one was only around 18 months at that time.
Okay.
And I still remember what I would do is I used to hire a nanny to be with my son in the morning while I would cook. Yeah. And then I would put him to bed at around 10 o'clock. Yeah. And then I would get up and I would do my editing. Right. I would be editing till 3 o'clock. And my husband would come and he's like, what are you doing? You don't have to do this. And seriously, I never had to do it, because by God's grace, we're fine. Right. But for me, I always had that inner thing in me that I want to do something of my own. Right. I want to reach somewhere by the time I'm a certain age. Right. or when I look back, I want to be happy with myself.
Right.
So that was what has brought me here. So the initial days were struggle. Yes, a lot of people did not understand, including my parents, why I was putting myself through so much to get there. But after a couple of years, when I looked at all these brands and when I see this award, I think it's self-fulfilling. And I'm happy that all the sacrifices I made, it's worth it.
Correct. And tomorrow you may have a team of your own that you work with, but you'll be able to build your empire because you've done everything step by step yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, now that gives you more confidence. I do have an assistant with me who helps me with the shoot. So that's definitely an added support.
Right.
I also have a team that takes care of graphic designing.
Wonderful.
So if a restaurant needs a menu or they want to handle the social media,
right,
I do have a team for that.
Wonderful.
So yeah, slowly I'm able to set up and I'm able to understand what a restaurant needs.
Right.
And that has become my that has become my specialty now, I would say.
So Teena, can you share with us some of your interesting clients that you work with? I do understand you've worked with many big brands, and what has been your experience working with them?
It has been an amazing experience because with every project I get to meet new people and clients from across the globe.
Right.
And the best part of being in Dubai is, you're meeting people from different nationalities and different cultures. So that has been definitely rewarding. And when you're being selected to work with this brand, it's itself is an achievement.
Correct.
So I had the pleasure of working with McDonald's, Nutella, Betty Crocker as a stylist.
Lovely.
And other than that, I've also done photography and styling for brands like Hummingbird Bakery, California Pizza Kitchen, Sugar Moo, 1484 by Puro.
Lovely.
These are few of the few brands I've worked with. But yeah, it's amazing.
Well, they have good choice if they decided to work with you.
Thank you so much.
So Teena, what is the best advice that someone has given you in your professional journey?
I would say it's small tasks over a period of time yields great results. It's by Robin Sharma. So I think that's important for any business because, when you're looking to start a business, you already think about reaching the top. But people don't realize that it's those small baby steps that makes a difference.
Yes.
And that is what one should be doing because at the end of the day, it adds up.
It all adds up.
It adds up, definitely.
So Teena, in closing, would you like to share a message to the people that are watching and are in the food industry and are maybe owning restaurants, a message from your end to them?
I would say definitely invest in food photography because that is what will help you sell or increase your sales.
Right.
And while you're selecting a photographer, always make sure that the person specializes in food and also have a stylist. Because if you don't have a stylist, then the end product is not going to be good. If you have a minimum budget, I would say go with a couple of pictures, but good quality images so that you can use it as a sponsored post. But I would say do not compromise on the quality of the images.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I really hope, Teena, that through everything we've tried to achieve here today, people get to know how wonderful you are, how passionate and how driven you are by what you do, and take inspiration from everything they've heard today. It's been wonderful to be in conversation with you. I thank you dearly for your time today, and I hope to keep bringing you back to the sets of Business Conversations with Shubika as we move along in our journey. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Shubika, for having me. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And just like that, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Business Conversations with Shubika. Don't forget to follow Teena Agnel on all her professional platforms and reach out to her for all your food photography needs. Thank you so much for your time today. Goodbye.